We are standing in front of my pantry right now because I'm gonna take you along with me as we do a little bit of a project trying to meal plan, but meal plan using up what I have in my pantry. We're gonna pop into the fridge and freezer as well. First of all, things are feeling pretty disorganized in there, at least for me. I don't know if it looks organized or disorganized to you, but it feels like a mess to me. Things feel like they're overflowing and I just wanna use up what I have, meal plan around what I have. First of all, so things don't get expired, I can organize a little bit more, and because I want to save a little bit of money and use what I already have. So I'm hopefully going to reduce my grocery bill a little bit over the next few weeks. I'm going to try and come up with a running list of different recipes that I can try and use, utilizing as many of the ingredients that I have here in the pantry, fridge, and freezer, purchasing as few ingredients as I can. Let's go in and see what we have and start to kind of meal plan together. And I'm just going to take you with me and we're gonna do this process together so you can see kind of how I think things through. I found a stool, so we're sitting here in the pantry. Step one is that I am surveying what I have, trying to find things that are sparking an idea as to what I need to use up, especially thinking about things that are expiring. I was just looking at this bread. I got it from Costco. If you have not tried this specific sourdough bread from Costco, it's so delicious, but for the life of me, I cannot find an expiration date on it. It wasn't from the most recent Costco trip. It was from the trip before that. So I'm feeling like it's going to expire pretty soon. But I had an idea. And as I was grabbing this, I found in my canned goods, I have some of these chipotles in adobo. And there's this specific shrimp recipe. It's in this creamy sauce. It's really good to dip bread in. So I think I might add that to my list. But as an idea, other things I'm looking at, I have some gnocchi. That would be a really great idea as to what to make. So I just grabbed, you can really use whatever you want. You don't even need something that's printed out like this, but this is just one of those grocery list organizers and meal planners. And I'm just gonna use the back page to kind of brainstorm okay, I wanna do a dish with gnocchi, but I don't know what I want to be in that gnocchi dish. So as I go through, I can see what other, like I said, canned goods, other sauces maybe that I want to use up, build that up. If I do get meal plan ideas, recipes, that I can write them down in a list. And then the other thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use two of these grocery lists. I'm gonna do one the traditional way. So let's say I'm going to make that creamy shrimp and chipotles and adobo with the bread. I can write down a list of what else I need from the grocery store that I do not have in the pantry to complete that recipe. But I also, as I'm going through and finding these things that are expiring, or I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot I had this, or there's just a little bit left of fill in the blank item left and I want to finish it up, I'm going to do a reverse grocery list. So write the things that I actually have and want to use up and try and check those off and fit them into different recipes. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to keep looking through and we'll check in a second. So this isn't really meal planning, but I pulled down this bin that is my extras bin. It did spark a little bit of meal planning because I have this particular pasta. I ordered it on Amazon for a specific recipe that I love. It's a lemon feta, mascarpone, and asparagus pasta. Oh my gosh, it's so good. But the recipe calls for these noodles, and I've tried it with other ones. It's also still great, but these ones are just really fun. So the fact that I have this and I haven't made that recipe in a while, I think I'm gonna add that to the list, even though it doesn't use a ton of other ingredients. But the point is, I am going to take some of my extras. This is my back stock, and I have things like panko bread crumbs, and I have all of my decanted foods, and this is where I keep extras. So there's a little bit of extra sugar. I can see in my sugar container, I can fill that up with this sugar and I can start to toss things. And I know, I just found soy sauce. I thought I was out of soy sauce. Didn't check here first, which was a big mistake. Bought more soy sauce. So now I know, I have soy sauce and I can keep a better list of those types of things. So restocking, refilling some of the spots in my pantry that I can is another good way for me to kind of use the food I have, declutter things, and get my pantry a little bit more organized. Another takeaway from the pantry, not just doing traditional meal planning, coming up with dinner recipes and whatnot, is finding those things that you can use up in quick ways, like this overnight oats and chias, or if you have snack foods that have been sitting there, just creating a list or even kind of like a mental note reminding yourself that you have those things and you need to focus on eating them, using them up is really helpful. So I grabbed this out of the pantry. I am going to prep this in the fridge and then I'll have this as my breakfast for the next few days. I kind of think the kids will actually like this. I've never let them try it because it does have a little bit of sugar in it, and I try and especially limit sugar for our younger one. They honestly might think it's like a fun little treat. So I'm gonna make some of this, but I also noticed that like I'm almost done with, we have popcorn kernels. I could make a fun popcorn and we could do a movie night or something and just polish those off. And I'm going to scan the snack food just a little bit more before we move on. We're gonna take a pause on the pantry, but before we do, I wanted to mention a few things that really help to use up a bunch of pantry items at once, or a bunch of food items at once. The first one was the idea that sparked this video. I don't know what it is about kind of like Mexican type food that is just a great way to use up so many things. But last night I did not go to the grocery store, and I always cook a homemade meal. We really rarely eat out, and I wanted to kind of live off of the land. Again, that's kind of how the idea for this video sparked, and the idea for me going through my pantry came about. I decided to make like a Mexican casserole, and I just started adding in to Google the ideas that I have. I was like, rice and ground beef, Mexican casserole. Anyway, I was able to use up, I had corn and black beans. It actually called for refried black beans, which I weirdly had. I had some salsa in the pantry. I had a bunch of rice. I had frozen ground beef. I had some guacamole from Costco in little tubs. All the things that I needed. I didn't have to go to the grocery store because I had all of it here. So weirdly, I feel like Mexican dishes do it a lot. And then another one of my little secret tips is to use up, I have a lot of nuts and seeds and dried fruits. I have a whole bin of nuts, seeds, and dried fruits. And I found a recipe. I can link the cookbook that it comes from, but it's basically like an everything but the kitchen sink granola bar. And you add a mix of nuts and seeds and dried fruits together to make these granola bars. And it gives you the different ratios, but you can change up what nuts and seeds you use. So I just use whatever I have to get rid of stuff. It is so delicious regardless of how you make it. I've made it so many different times before. So I'm for sure adding those granola bars to my list. But if you don't want to get that specific cookbook, I'm sure you can find another similar recipe online, or granola would be another great thing to do. But I would start to kind of think outside of the box. There are a few websites as well. All Recipes is one of them. You can go into the search bar of those websites and you can type in, or like I just did in Google or on Pinterest, start typing in a list of ingredients that you have, and it will generate recipes that have those ingredients in them and kind of help you spark ideas. So it doesn't just have to be you thinking from the top of your head or pulling recipes from thin air. Use your computer, go online, and take advantage of all of the resources and different really creative recipes out there. Okay, that was really long-winded, but the point is we are going to go into the fridge and spark some more ideas by looking at condiments. I have no particular reason for this, but for some reason the pantry calls out Mexican dishes, sometimes like Italian dishes with some tomatoes and canned tomatoes, tomato sauces, things like that. But the condiments always make me think like Asian dishes. I weirdly have sweet Thai chili sauce. Oh, I have some ramen bone broth. I saw I have some ramen in the pantry as well, so that might be a good thing. I just have so many different sauces that I need to use those up. It's stuffed in here. So we're gonna do the same thing, but go through the condiments and see if I can try and either come up with an idea to add it in conjunction with something from the pantry, or create a new recipe idea just with what I'm seeing here. Last but not least, we have to mention the freezer. And the way I'm going through the freezer is really just the same as I did with the pantry and with the fridge. I'm using the individual items in there to help combine and come up with a full recipe that I can use. I found some frozen pesto that I could use with the gnocchi maybe. That actually sounds really good. But the other thing that I need to take advantage of in the freezer is I'm somebody who does a little bit of freezer prep and freezing of meals. So I have some individual portions that I have frozen in my super cubes. And if you've never heard of super cubes, they are these awesome silicone trays. They are so incredibly sturdy. Like I can hold them with one hand and they don't bend. They're reinforced. And you can pop them out. I have a bunch of different sizes, like 2 tablespoons all the way up to, I think it goes to 2 cups. This one is a 1 cup. So yeah, the 2 cup one is like a big square, and I'll freeze literally soup in there. Or you could do like chicken teriyaki bowls and freeze a small layer of rice and then a small layer of chicken on top. There's so many different things you can do, but I don't love freezing those giant casseroles because once you thaw it out, it's just so much to eat, even if you have a large family. So often I make a meal and I don't know how long it's gonna last, and it will maybe last to give everybody leftovers for lunch the next day, except for I don't have anything to eat for lunch the next day. So having it in an individual portion, I can pop out one just for me and have my own meal. Or if we want to have dinner for everybody, I could pop out like 4 of them and we can all have dinner. But regardless, there are a few in here that I have not eaten and need to make sure I am eating. I don't want them to be in there for too long. And same thing with it if you have things like frozen individual meals that you've bought from the grocery store, or frozen pizzas, or other frozen actual full meals. Do not forget about those as you're going through this process. We are closing things out in my office because this is where I have my computer, and I've just been sitting down here for a little bit trying to come up with a few more ideas to finish up my meal plan list. And I'm not meal planning like tying certain meals to, I'm gonna make this on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm just making a running list. One thing that I did that I found to be really helpful was I went to some of my favorite food bloggers and went on their websites, and you can typically search recipes on those types of websites. And I typed in things like gnocchi and got a bunch of really great ideas. I mentioned Pinterest is a really great place to go, obviously Google itself, but I found some really great other ideas. I found some Philly cheesesteak sliders that I'm gonna do. I have some Hawaiian rolls that I need to use up. I also had sweet potatoes in the pantry and came up with an idea for Greek stuffed sweet potatoes. I just typed in sweet potato recipes, and I have so much feta. I accidentally ordered way too much feta with a grocery delivery and need to use up feta. So that's what I'm gonna do there. Let's see what else I have. Oh, I got yum yum sauce from the grocery and have no idea what to do with it. So I just typed in yum yum sauce recipes, which first directed me to recipes how to make yum yum sauce. But I think I'm gonna do some sort of hibachi and a homemade fried rice where I can chop up and use the vegetables that are in my fridge. I had some frozen veggies as well that I can put in there. I am hoping that this has been helpful for you. You've gotten a little bit of an insight into my brain and how I do these things. I love the idea of doing this like at least twice a year and challenging yourself to see how low you can get your grocery bill down to for a month, let's call it. Try doing this for 4 weeks in a row of just really focusing every time you plan a meal, going into your fridge, freezer, and pantry and using those items up that you have. I'm telling you, it's gonna drastically reduce your grocery bill. You're gonna use things before they're expired. All of the benefits that we talked about. Get a little bit more organized in those places, which is one of my favorites. Hopefully try some fun new recipes that you might not have thought of before. If this video was helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.